Okay, we changed phones, so hopefully the sound will be better. And so I'm going to do another demonstration on handling plants and transplanting so you can get it. So I was talking about people ask, well, when is it time to move my plants into a larger container? So these tomatoes, if you had room, you see how this leaf from this plant is starting to overlap. So if you didn't have bigger pots, what you would do is take them and move them apart in the tray. Okay, so that would work. Okay, so, and you might put one there so the leaves don't touch and go like that. That's one way. And now all the sunlight gets to each one and they're not competing. What makes tomatoes stretch and get tall and leggy is when they're too close together. Okay, they compete for the sun, and so that is important. Now you can see here is those pots I told you about, and these I like these because they are technically compostable, and you can see the little roots are starting to come through, but this material still blocks the roots too much to just put this pot directly into the soil. I've already experimented with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transplant some of these tomatoes to demonstrate putting into this bigger newspaper pot. What I'm going to do before I transplant them, I'm going to give them a drink of water. Okay, I'm going to give them a nice drink of water so they're fully hydrated, because this is going to be a little bit of shock for them, and inevitably a little bit of root damage might occur, and so I want them to be able to very easily go. So what I'm going to do now is, these are much bigger, and I haven't filled them with soil. I just put some soil in the bottom because I'm going to put this pot in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I do with these pots. I open them. I open them very carefully. Okay, so what that is, you see the roots? Now, so basically what this is a mold holding the soil. That's what it is. Okay, so now this is this newspaper pot is the new mold, and tomatoes can be planted deeper, so that's why I see now in the baby, this leaf, it's to this leaf, and so then I would very carefully take some nice, this is just garden soil we saved from last year with compost added and a bit of charcoal. Okay, and then I'll put it around, fill it up. There we go. Now what happens, once you move your plants to a bigger pot, automatically the bigger pots create the spacing. The bigger spots automatically, okay? So there, and then I would water it. Okay? And as you see, we've made these littler pots too. They don't all have to be the same size to share your tray. There can be many different sizes. You kind of pick your pot according to the foliage. I know I can transplant this. You could see when I had showed you the roots, so that this top, the pot is bigger than the top, which is showing this will have lots of room. This tomato will easily be able to stay in here until it's time to plant it in the greenhouse. Okay? You could put all your plants outside today in the sun for a couple hours, but don't leave them out there. They're like babies. They can get sunburn, the same as the babies. And so we don't want to let them be from going in the house to being out in pure sun for 12 hours. Okay, they don't, their skin, their leaves are like skin. And our skin can grow calluses, so do the plants. The plant tissue physically becomes thicker, stronger, and coarser, stimulated by the elements, the same as our body. Okay, the same as our body. So, I'm going to grab a different set of plants. I'm going to bring it over here. Bringing it over here. Now, the reason I want to show you, whoops, I spilled them. It's okay. This is an example of something very small, because not all plants that we've started from seed are great big plants that are easy to handle. Some of them are tiny. Now, why I have so, that's a weed, why I have so many here, this plant is called celeriac, and it's related to celery, but it grows a bulb, and it's a really bumpy, lumpy bulb. It's not very fancy looking at all, but it's very low in oxalate acid, and I discovered I have quite a high sensitivity to oxalate acid, which causes a type of kidney stone. So I need to be careful on what types of plants I eat, and it turns out celeriac can be a potato substitute. It's low in starch, and you could mix it, like you could cook potato and you could go half and half with it. It's white. It's very mildly tastes like celery. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to thin these. Okay, so I have another tray here that I'm going to take some of these out and put them in. But this is dry. I do not plant into dry. Okay, the reason what will happen is it's like taking a fish and throwing it on the beach. These plants and their little roots, there's moisture here. The dryness of this would suck, physically draw the water out of the plant through the roots, and cause them to die. So I'm going to water it first. Okay, I wanted you to see this. It's very important. And what's really important with baby plants is it's so similar to having children. I think women who've had children are some of the best farmers. Not that other people can't, men can be farmers, but it's such a learning curve of care. And the best metaphor I have found is what is needed to take care of children is so similar to taking care of baby plants. If you turn your back on them, if you forget about them, they could, get too much sun or get too dry or not eat enough. And so it's just a really excellent metaphor for baby plants. And so what I'm going to do is, this is like, I could add more water, but I'll pretend this is really well watered. Now I'm going to put my glasses on. And so what I'm going to do, because there's so many here, what happened is this was quite an old bag of seed, and I really wasn't sure how well they would germinate. I'm thrilled at how well they've germinated. Knife, it's like a surgeon, and I'm going in and I'm looking, and I'm going to take a little cluster maybe, and I'm just going to lift it. And because they're very young and small, it's very easy. And I will move this whole cluster. I am not going to try to separate these tiny plants at this time. They could be separated, but I do not have the dexterity to be gentle enough because they're so delicate still. So I'm working in a scale I can be gentle enough and not be, because if I tried to grab that little stem, I would probably crush it. So I'm going to do it in clumps, and then I'm going to use my finger. I'm going to pop it in. And just a little tiny bit deeper, not that much deeper. And then I'll go again, and I will say, okay.
We have a good question from Natalie.
Okay.
How long are seeds good for?
Good question. Depends on how well they were stored. And so there are charts that I actually think, I don't, well, I'll find the chart, because I know I have a chart somewhere. So almost all seeds can be saved 1 year. Like really practically every seed can live 1 year. But you want to keep them dry. You want to keep them cool, and you want to keep them dark. So like dry, Ziploc bag, glass jar, okay, out of the sun, put black cover on here. And then they could last for many years, 5 years, 10 years. And then even if what'll happen is even maybe only 25% of those really old seeds don't grow. So you just plant your older seeds a little thicker. That's all you do. And so I would just keep going, and I would look and find a little clump. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking these clumps out, and I'm going to show you something. This is cool. I can see here that I'll just show you. This is really good. You see how those little roots are growing? You see those? That means I easily can plant this a little deeper because I can actually see the roots, okay? But I wouldn't plant it like up to here. I wouldn't plant it so deep. I would just plant it a little bit deeper, okay? So sometimes you got to watch, and then you'll see those roots, okay? All right. And then I would fill, and then what I'm doing is I'm going to keep this tray, and now we'll have made room there, and then here. And so now, the other thing I wanted to show, except I spilled it, but with Kim, is I could do the same thing.
Let's put this to hold
there. Yes, there we go. Is how the different height, we used this one piece of wood, and we're able to make these different sizes. So small, medium, and large. And so you could put a pumpkin seed in there, a cucumber seed in there. You could transplant some of these little tiny guys in there. If you had lettuce, you could put seeds. So this is what I mean, and all you do is you gotta learn. Sorry about that. And then this whole box could be filled with many different sizes of containers, and it's all compostable. Now, what I do want to mention, when it's time to plant this, if you decide to leave the paper on, it's important that at least the top part of the paper is ripped off, and you don't have a piece of paper sticking out of the ground, because it wicks the water and will accelerate dehydration, okay? So that's it. So you just want to make sure when you do transplant it, at least there's no edge sticking out of the ground. That's one of the little tricks, okay? And then I'll fill this later, and then well water it, and then they will continue to grow until I can transplant them in the garden. So now we were going to also talk about seeding carrots, I think, weren't we? What were we going to do, Kim?
Direct sowing.
Direct sowing. All right. Let me find the carrot seeds. For hand sowing, I'm just going to do a little bit of hand sowing of carrots. And I had showed, just for everyone who maybe didn't see before, carrot seeds are one of the very small seeds, if you want to really come close. They are very tiny. And because they're so tiny, it's very easy for us to plant too many. And so I had, what I do often, and I highly, these are got little, it's like a clay, and they're pelletized. And there's one seed inside. But especially for yourself, if you're planting them by hand, you can see the seed clearly and not plant too many, because one of the number one mistakes we make with carrots is we plant them too close and too many, and they crowd each other. Okay? So, let's see here. I'm going to take these two, and we will go down to one of these beds. You want to come? All right. And I'm going to show this little tool. This is a manual little seeder that I've showed, but I want to show again. That we most likely you for sure can order it online from some of the main like Vessi seeds, Stoke seeds, West Coast seeds. They're only a couple dollars. They're not expensive. Sometimes they're for sale at Canadian Tire and things too. I've seen them there. So what this does, as I would say, carrots, even if you just bought it to help you plant your carrots. You take the lid off. I'm going to put these seeds in here. And I'm going to show you first in my hand, and then I'll show you. Now this seems like a small amount of carrots. It's a lot. There's a lot of carrots already in this small amount here. And then I'm going to put this little guy on. So now what it does is it allows me to hold back the seeds. I like the one with this large spout. Sometimes they have a short spout. The seed comes out a bit too fast. So what you do is you practice, just like I'm doing right now before you go to your garden. You put seed in, you set it so you start getting a little bit of seed in the mouth or the spout, and then you tap and you tip and you tap. And according to the seed, you adjust the angle. And you learn, and normally you can tap and get a couple seeds to drop at a time. And so then you can go along and plant your seeds. So let's go down here. Yep.
Hello to the McNeely Gardens.
Hello.
They're just asking if you can explain direct sowing. Because
Yes.
some folks try to start root vegetables in pots or
Yes.
inside.
Okay. Okay.
So why are we direct sowing?
Right. Thank you for that very, very excellent question. There are many plants, especially vegetables, that we eat the root from, which is carrots, okay? Carrots do not do well if we put them in a pot first and then transplant them, because it is a long root. And what happens is we can't see it, but it's like a hair. And that root wants to go down first like a thread into the soil, and it hits the bottom of the pot extremely quick and causes it to think, oh my goodness, I'm on top of a boulder. There's a giant rock underneath me, and it changes. And so when you transplant that carrot, it'll be funny. It'll be distorted. It won't grow. Parsnips don't transplant. What else? Rutabagas we can transplant, but carrots, radishes, don't transplant. Just plant them right in the garden. For sure, don't transplant salsify. Don't transplant parsnips. Beets, we can. Beets, because they are more of a round root, okay? They're not so much an up and down root. They a little bit will be slowed when we transplant them, but they recover because they're not as dependent on that long thread root. And so that's why some things, and like peas can be tricky. Peas are very fragile. So you could technically start peas in pots and transplant them, but like I was showing those baby plants, they're delicate. And what can happen is you can plant them early in your house and then transplant them out and end up breaking 75%. So that sometimes whatever we can plant directly in the garden, it'll save us time in the end, okay? So a lot of times the things we're starting indoors are things that actually need a longer growing season than what our climate gives. So that's why we might start tomatoes indoors and peppers indoors and cucumbers and that indoors. Not that we really have to, but cucumbers I find really do the best in some type of greenhouse or really close to your house on the south side, okay? And beans do very well inside greenhouses. Beans barely grow outside. All right, good question.
And someone asked if we could show how to make the newspaper pots again, which I think is a very good idea.
Yes,
So we'll do that.
will.
We'll do that after.
Okay, yes we will. All right. So there's something planted here. This one, thank you. This is our garden manager.
There's Tamara.
Yes. All right. So what I'm going to do, okay, is because we are growing on such a large scale, even though I highly recommend everyone who is new to first-time gardeners to look at the square foot garden method, because that's going to really simplify it for you. But once you get to a scale where you're managing thousands of square feet, planting in a row here, it's going to be easier for me to fill this whole bed, and because of time, okay? So I'm just using this very quick, all the way down, make a row. So the row is sort of twofold. It's to give me a target. It's not deep. Now I'm going to get Kim to come really close with the camera. Really, really close. And I want, when you're seeding this way, I'm not looking at my tool. I'm looking at the ground. And I go, oh, and there I see 2. And then I move. And I might do 2, and then I move. And I can see, and I'm watching the ground. And I just keep going, 2, and then 2. And I'm giving them the space of about maybe an inch or 2. Okay? And then I shake it. And you can get really fast, and then you can start going. And if I had 100 beds, I might really go like this and just go and give her. And it's going to be a little more, but the idea here is I'm controlling and not putting 20 seeds per clump. Okay, so this small amount of seed that you see me put in is going to easily fill this 12-foot long row. Easily. Alright? Now carrots are worth this effort because they're one of the survival foods. Reason carrots are survival food. They can produce 100,000 calories in 2 of these beds. They can be dehydrated. They can be pickled. They can be blanched and frozen, and they can be kept in root cellar if you have the ability. So, and the tops can be used for animal feed and making compost. Okay, vitamin A, but it's a highly nutritious crop that grows really well. In fact, carrots. There. Now I did this whole row, and look how much is still left. Look how much is still left. Okay, and yet that looked like hardly any seed. So it's so significant. That's the number one thing is we plant too many seeds and then we don't get results, okay? So now I want to show you these ones because now the trick with these is this doesn't work so good with round seeds. They're like little billiard balls. So these would be better. It's really good for kids and stuff, but for us, if you don't have good eyes, you can really see these. And you can easily take a pinch of 2 or 3 and drop them. And look how much they stand out. You can really see them on the soil. See how you can really see those nice white seeds. All right, there. And then we go again all along. And that's kind of the ideal plant spacing there. All right, I think that was it.
What's next, though?
What was that? Pardon?
Are you gonna
cover them?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kim is asking me what would I do next?
And because watering is so important for carrots.
Yes, that's right. So what I'm going to do, because the seed is so small, I don't even have to go and push the soil back. Because when I come with my sprinkler and water it, the water from the sprinkler will gently push the soil over, but you do want it to be slightly covered. So, do we have a fan rake really close by? I'll show you another, my favorite tool. My favorite tool is a fan rake that I want to show you.
While we're waiting, someone has asked, oh, Linda. Hi, Linda. What other plants besides tomatoes, peppers, beans, and cucumbers do better in a greenhouse, and what does best outside?
Yes, so everything from the squash family, so cucumbers, thank you, zucchini, and pumpkin, we don't even plant them outside anymore. That's how well they do indoors. And then, so basically, I can show the chart again on the hot lovers.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about in the plant kingdom, there are plants that have adapted to physically live in hotter climates. And then there are plants that have adapted to the northern hemisphere that grow in cooler climates. So all the cool lovers or cold tolerant plants, everything from the brassica family, so the cabbage family, which is huge. Radishes are part of the cabbage family. Mustards are part of the cabbage family. Kohlrabi, broccoli, cauliflower, that's all brassica. It's a huge family, okay? All thrives outdoors. Rutabaga does not like to be in the greenhouse. I've put them in the greenhouse sometimes. They end up, they don't like it. It's too hot. Okay, so this rake, sorry, is there another question?
Yeah, one more question, okay, which
sure.
relates.
Okay.
So Lisa asked, hi Lisa, when would you start planting carrots in Yellowknife, and how long would they take?
I would literally, if you have soil physically defrosted that you could work, you could plant carrots, because carrots can germinate in only +4 in the soil. Carrots are extremely, so that would be like a really early, don't plant them all, okay? So you might be able to even plant your carrots some batch May 7th, then May 14th, then May 21st, and you would have 3 different plantings, and then you would see. So that's the other thing, is let's not put all our eggs in one basket. So let's not only plant all our seeds on one day. Okay, because if something goes wrong to that one, it's not all lost. So it's a good, but yes, the cold and I have a little chart. We'll show you. So I'm just going to quickly show you this. It's really important. This rake can be used like this and like this. So if I have the forks going down, and I like the flat one, not the round one, because you can use it like a broom. You can very lightly sweep. You see how I can sweep? But I can flip it like this and hardly move any soil, very gently, and I'm just lightly, and I'm not, because the fork isn't going in, it's not flicking the seed, okay? It's just gently covering the seed like that. And then absolutely water it. All right. Thank you. So let's go look at those charts, okay? All right. Remember. Oh, and the paper pots.
Yeah.
They want us to show that. Okay. Let me use this.
So first, we can just show the chart.
What was that? Where's my... Oh, there it is. Okay, so I want to show, this is a question on the temperature and plant growth. This is for the question about when we can plant carrots and stuff outside. So you might want to go really close so they can see it and so they can read it. So basically on this chart, everything that is of the 4.5, okay, these plants can be planted by seed, okay? So lettuce might not like it if you transplant it when it's only that. It might, the baby plants, once they've been in the house, are a little more sensitive, but the seeds planted directly in the soil are much more adapted to the coolness. So these are all things that we can plant once the snow is melted and the garden soil is warm. And then as we go here, all these plants, you know, for sure, 15 above, for sure, greenhouse. Like eggplants, forget it. They really like it warm. So I hope that helps.
And we'll hi Lisa, yes, we'll post these charts, these temperature charts on our Facebook page. I'll do a little recap. Yes. Yeah, we'll post the charts.
No, this was just the charts. Yep. What was the other question?
Hi Gooch. We just talked about the jugs in our last video, but do you want to quickly explain the water jugs?
Okay, we'll explain the water.
Because we're talking about temperature.
Yeah, we're talking about temperature. So you know what I want to show you guys? If you really, really like little useful tools, this is a special type of thermometer. It's called a high-low thermometer. One side, minimum, shows the coolest temperature of the day, and the other one shows the maximum. And it's manual, there's no battery. And this little blue line moves. See, it was warmer. It was almost getting plus 20, and we opened the door and it got cooler again. And then we push this button and it resets. So what'll happen, it'll tell me, oh, my greenhouse got 40 above. I let it get too hot. Or, ooh, last night it came really close to freezing. And so that's what this is. It can tell you when you're not there what the temperature had been, okay? Because that could be a learning curve, yes.
And hi, Rena. So Rena asked, this is a good recap for the beds too.
Okay.
What size bed
Yes.
do we have here?
Okay. Yes. Okay, so each one of these beds is almost 50 square feet. They're 4 feet wide by about 12 feet long. So they're like 48 feet, very close. So 2 of these is 100 square feet, which is an ideal size. And if you take good care of them, this is deep enough. There's only cardboard underneath. There's no wood underneath. The bottom, there's soil underneath. Cardboard, the frame is basically physically just holding the better soil. And then that way the water can move, earthworms can come in and go out, and the roots of the plants, if they want to go deeper, can. And you can produce, if easily 100,000 calories. So 50,000 calories in this to 100,000, which is awesome. We all produce that. We'd be doing really well. So let's talk about the heat battery again. So we've saved these containers. They are the same material as a water jug. And the darkness...
You mean a milk jug?
They're the same material, yes, sorry, as milk jugs. These are just from the restaurants. They get vegetable oil in them. And you could probably, I don't know, if you start looking at the different jugs, you could find, yes, a little bit of water. Anyways, what happens is the sunlight during the day warms this water up a lot. And once the waters become warm, it very slowly cools off. And so this will release heat at night. And by having it close to the bed, I could have all water jugs going along the edge. You could have them going all the way around if you wanted. And then you could put a bed sheet over the bed and the jug. It's like a hot water bottle when you go to bed at the camp. And and it's cold and you get your hot water bottle. Well, that's what this is. And you get it under the blanket and it's going to keep them warm during the night. Okay?
So a few other questions about the bed design.
Okay.
Are there braces to hold
Yes.
the things together? And then also,
Yes.
how high are they,
Okay.
or deep?
Okay.
And what do you line them with?
Good question. Good question. So first of all, come close. In the corners, we do hammer a wooden stake into the ground. Okay? And then we screw into that stake in here. And these are maybe at the deepest 12 inches, okay? There is nothing lining it. The only liner would be this cardboard right here. This cardboard we put underneath. So say there was your lawn, okay? And you're putting it right on top. If you had grass, cut it short and maybe put 3 layers of cardboard. So there's no cracks. It's like a carpet of cardboard. The cardboard will decompose and absorb water. Then you put your frame on top, and then whatever soil you have, if this was in your old area of your garden, you could rototill the area, but maybe your soil is not that thick. Then what you could do is you would put your cardboard down, put your frame on, and the soil from the sides you would shovel in. And so the paths, you would take the good soil from the path. It's just a path where you're walking. You don't need good soil there. And you add it into your box. And so now you might have had this much good soil. Well, now you can have this much good soil because you took the soil from the paths. And then this is what we do. And then on the path, we put cardboard, and we also put like leaves and sawdust on top. So there's no lining. We don't even treat the wood. It's not necessary. It will last, but it's important to have it braced. And also, if it's this long, sometimes it bows. So we do put a little stick also in the center. We just hammer it because of the water flexing and bulging. And yeah, and it could be logs. It doesn't even have to. This is just rough cut timber from Patterson Sawmill. I highly recommend their product. I love it. We get it all the time. I use it. It's extremely inexpensive. But you could be logs. You could do this like a miniature log house. And you could notch the logs, and it could be 3 high, and put stakes. So, yeah.
Another question is about what soil we put in the beds. But that is what we'll do a whole video on that after lunch.
Yes, we'll do that. And that is a very good question. How do we source our soil? But is there another question that I...
So let's show again how to make newspaper pots.
Okay, newspaper pots.
And Nancy, hi Nancy, she's asked, will we talk more about container gardening?
Yes, okay.
I never owned this much flat land to build planting beds on, so totally, let's do container gardening too.
Container gardening. All right. So let's do our paper pot again. So what I'm going to do first is maybe the big one, okay? So this is a piece of construction, 4x4, okay? I find this is kind of the biggest. Ooh, see? Look at this. This is really good. Look at the tomato. Look how it's wilted. Even though I put water, I didn't put enough. And remember I said to water it even before we transplanted it? That's why. And the reason is also because it's out here in the greenhouse, exposed to the light. So I'm very glad we caught. But I'll just give it water, and it will perk right up again. It is not dead. Okay? This is like, if we could compare this to when a human wants a nap. Okay? That's what the equivalence is. It's like, oh, I'm really tired. And so when we give it water, it's like we've given it rest. It's going to refresh itself. Okay? Okay, so now, these particular flyers work really good. The inks are all plant-based, so we don't have to worry about that. This size is ideal for this. And so what I like to do is just think you're wrapping for a gift, a square box. And I make it so that the fold is going to be the full width of the block of wood I'm using. And then I just roll it. Okay, and I might... Now some people use tape after. I have found it's not necessary, but say you're doing this with children, that might help their pot hold together. You could tape it, and then I now fold it like it's a gift. I fold it there, and I fold the side down, I fold the side down, fold it down. And now I can kind of use this, get my finger in careful. Sometimes it rips, it's okay, you can start again. And pull it out, and now I'm holding it, okay? And now, to have it, if I was to let go and put it in and there's no soil, it might unroll, okay? But if I put soil in, just a little bit of soil in the bottom, the pot is going to hold itself together now. Now, I didn't fill it because if I was putting a bigger plant in there, I need it to not be full to make room for my pot, or not my pot, but my soil ball. Take it off, I would set it in there, the pot would be off, and then I would fill it, the remainder up with soil and push it in around. Okay? And so we can make these out of the small ones too. Okay, the same. Okay? Now these ones, you can get a lot more from your newspaper. Okay? You can get a lot more because, I'd say this one probably could get, and I might, if I'm just going to make a small one, I might fold it just to give it strength. And let's see here. Again, I want it so that it's at least the whole bottom. Roll. I like the square ones better than using round because they will fit touching each other in the bigger container you put them. Same thing, fold the bottom flat and slow, carefully. Ooh, I made that one tight. There you go, little pot, and I would put soil in, and that would be really good for many things. All right.
Okay, so I think we'll take a break,
Sure.
and after we'll definitely talk about soil.
And compost.
Yeah.
Making compost, yes.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more. We can show some container planting
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
more on building these beds.
Yes, and I'll show the boreal bucket.
Yeah, the boreal bucket.
Yeah,
So
we'll show
container
it.
gardening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll do that after lunch about
Yeah.
1 o'clock. I have to recharge the phone.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you for all your questions. That was awesome.